Hello students, welcome back. So today in this video we'll be studying about the bases and their properties. So let's start first of all with the definition of a base. So bases are the substances which are bitter in taste. They feel soapy in touch. Okay, bitter in taste means you all know what does bitter means, fine. So like for example, soap solution is there. If by chance you taste means little bit of soap solution, then how do you feel? It's bitter, isn't it? So that's what they are, bitter in taste. And you all know what does soapy in touch means. Bases will be soapy in touch, and then they have the tendency to turn red litmus to blue. We have already seen previously this property. Okay, now see, there are certain bases which are water soluble. So all those bases which are water soluble have been given this name alkalis. So alkalis are what? They are water soluble bases. We can define alkalis like this: water soluble bases. Okay, example is like calcium hydroxide. Okay, fine. There are many examples. Fine. Now there is one property which is common in all bases, as we have seen in acids. Okay, that acids have one common thing, that is they dissolve in aqueous solution to give H plus ion. Similarly, bases have this property, that is whenever they are dissolved in water, they will produce hydroxide ions. Hydroxide ions means OH minus ions in solution. For example, you can see here NaOH, which is sodium hydroxide, when it is dissolved in water. Here when I have written AQ means aqueous. So it will give what? It will give sodium ions and hydroxide ion. You can take many more examples. For example, magnesium hydroxide. So magnesium hydroxide, when dissolved in water, it gives Mg2 plus ions. Okay, magnesium ions and OH minus ions. Okay, now OH twice it is, so we will get 2 OH minus ions over here. Is that clear? Fine. So that is the common property of all the bases. They have this tendency to produce hydroxide ions in their aqueous solutions. Now see, as we have seen that bases have this property to produce OH minus ions on dissolving in water. So depending upon this property, that is depending upon the ionization, fine, they dissociate, they give OH minus ion, that is known as ionization only. So depending upon ionization, bases are classified into strong bases and weak bases. Now strong bases are those bases which have the tendency to completely ionize to produce OH minus ions. Okay, fine. So like when I'm saying completely ionized, so for example, okay, the example of strong bases are NaOH, sodium hydroxide, KOH, potassium hydroxide, etc. Now what does it mean completely ionized? Like if I have 100 molecules of NaOH, so 100 molecules of NaOH will dissociate to give 100 Na plus and 100 OH minus ions. Okay, that is a strong base. Fine. But the other one, that is weak base, as the name suggests, it is weak. That means it has it will ionize partially only. Okay, so those bases which partially ionize to give the corresponding OH minus ions, okay, they are called as the weak base. For example, ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH, magnesium hydroxide, etc. Now you know, like ammonium hydroxide, if I have 100 molecules of ammonium hydroxide, around 30 or 40 molecules will only give means they will only dissociate or ionize means टूट जाना, ठीक है, break to give the corresponding ions. Okay, but not complete, and therefore they are called as the weak bases. Now let's see the properties of bases. First we'll see the physical properties of bases. So as we have discussed in the definition also, bases are bitter in taste. Then they are soapy in touch. Okay, feel like soap. Okay, then they have the tendency to turn red litmus to blue. Base blue, base blue, BB. Okay, remember like that. Fine. Then bases are electrolytes. When I say electrolytes, what are electrolytes? Those substances which have the tendency to conduct electricity. Okay, so bases also have this property of conducting electricity. They can also conduct electricity, pass electricity through them. And what will be the reason for that? The reason is they can form ions. Okay, as they can form ions, therefore they are electrolytes. They can conduct electricity as well. So these are the physical properties of bases. Now let's see the chemical properties. Now let's see the chemical properties of bases. First one, bases have the tendency to react with few metals like zinc and aluminium to form their salts along with the liberation of hydrogen gas. Okay, see, we have taken one example here, base NaOH, and this metal we have taken zinc. So when this NaOH and zinc is heated, then it will give the salt which is sodium zincate, Na2ZnO2, along with the liberation of hydrogen gas. Next is this reaction we have already seen. It's neutralization reaction. We have seen in the properties of acids also. Bases, they also have the tendency to react with acids to give salt and water. We can take any base, any acid like NaOH and H2SO4 I have taken here. So what you will get when we react with H2SO4, always we get their sulfates. Okay, so we are obtaining Na2SO4, sodium sulfate along with water. Then the next property is bases, they have the tendency to react with non-metal oxides, fine, to give salt and water. So base, you can take any base as an example. One example I have given over here. Calcium hydroxide, it is reacting with non-metal oxide CO2. C is non-metal, okay, and its oxide CO2, okay. So it will give salt, that is calcium carbonate, along with the liberation of a water molecule. Fine. So these are the chemical properties of bases. So here we come to the end of the properties of bases. Fine. Stay tuned for the next video. We'll be studying about pH. Okay. A very important criteria to find out that a substance is whether a base or an acid.